Very, very warm welcome to the India's numero uno fashion designer, Manish Malhotra. Had we been there on a live stage, Manish, we would have probably been hearing applause. So you'll have to imagine that happening right now.
Thank you so much.
Manish is, the ultimate cinematic storyteller, and I think it's his clothes which have made the Indian movies so unforgettable. And I think that he's really helped to take Indian fashion and turned it into a lifestyle, and which is now loved across the world by one and all. I think no Indian wedding is complete without Manish Couture being coming there in some way or the other, some form of the other, which we always continue to see. And also, he's amongst one of the few fashion designers in India who've crossed the 100 crore club of couture fashion and now going in much more higher places with all the stuff that he's doing, which we are going to talk about with him today. So let me start with this, Manish, that you've made fashion a lifestyle in India. And, but I think lifestyle is really all about culture. So what is it that you understand about Indian culture, Bollywood culture, which is helping you build this fashion as a lifestyle, as a mission?
For me, I think that India has got such a wide, really vast spectrum of cultural variations, which become one entire Indian culture. Like whether you see the Maharajas, you see our artisans, you see our fabrics, our colors, our traditions, our different states having so many different foods and beliefs, and in terms of clothes, different forms of fabrics. So there's a lot that India offers, right? And for me, I've been influenced by it, I think, from the age of 5. And I've been a huge fan of cinema from the age of 5. And my mother tells me that when there was a tuition teacher, I don't know why she kept a tuition teacher for me at the age of 5. But I used to tell that teacher that your shoes and clothes are not matching. And I used to be wanting to see every Hindi film that released. And my mother says I was so attracted to color. And she says at times she would hide from me when she was leaving home because I would definitely comment on what she was wearing.
I'm sure the teacher wanted to hear just that.
So I think the influence of that sometimes you're just born with a certain passion. And I'm very lucky and grateful and thankful to my parents who somewhere didn't come in the way of that and they encouraged it. Yes. Even if it meant going to see that many movies. And I think in that cinema, sitting in cinemas and watching all the movies wide-eyed, I was so influenced by the color that I saw, the clothes that I saw, the music that I heard. And it inspired me so much that I went into painting classes. And I kept getting more and more inspired. And when I travel, I'm inspired by nature, by temples, by architecture, so much. There's so much that India has to offer.
I totally agree with you. I read that you started your journey in Bollywood as a model, in the industry, in the entertainment industry as a model, and yet you transformed very quickly to becoming a fashion designer. So how did that transformation happen for you? What was it that you noticed in the industry which made you do this change?
I was always interested in movies. I always watched so many films, and like I mentioned earlier, my parents encouraged it as well, which is so kind of them because that went on to becoming my life. And I was really passionate about films. So I wanted to be actually a film director. And modeling happened. I got busy with modeling. And there was always this one thing about me that whatever I did it very sincerely. So by 3 years of my college, I was going for look tests. I was modeling. I was never one of those students who, who's wasting a lot of time or who's standing with friends at the corner of his building. I would be going for some audition or the other. So while I was modeling, I started working in a store as well as a sales boy. And I used to sketch there continuously. I used to keep changing the mannequin. So my fascination was clothes as well. And I thought since I had not studied fashion, and I was just passionate about it, and I loved films. And I remember the late 80s, the look in the movies was not so good. I mean, you had directors like Yash Chopra, Shekhar Kapoor, and all of them. But the looks that you saw in the 40s and 50s and 60s and of course the 70s, I think somewhere got lost in the 80s. And I put two of my dreams together, which is movies and clothes. And that's how I decided to get into costumes. And then, I kept meeting photographers and various magazine journalists who were looking for designers to style their photo shoots. And And I think then I started giving it 48 hours in a 24-hour day. I mean, I would work that much. I really, really worked. And I was so keen that I should change the way the movies look. So I came up with this concept of a look where what's your hair, what's your makeup, what's your jewelry, what's your costume. Because I felt that's very important in a costume. And in those days, when there's an Indian outfit, the heroine would have long hair. And the next scene, she's wearing a Western outfit and her hair would be short. And I was like, how can haircut keep changing like this? So I came up with that whole concept of a consistent look. But it was all done because I was so very passionate about the movies.
Sure. And so I mean, today when you've achieved so much success and you've done so much work in for Indian fashion, and you've sort of brought a great modern version of Indian fashion, which is so fascinating. What is it that you realize about Indian consumers' sensibilities? What have you understood about it? How do you think the Indian woman wants to see herself inspired by Bollywood, but yet she doesn't want to be a replica of a actress or somebody. So how do you sort of balance these both things together?
Well, I think that there was a time when the people really looked at actors and what they were wearing. And if you remember, those styles became iconic and those styles became what people would be seen wearing. But over time, there was so much of cinema also changed, right? The glamour curtain went out and the realism came into movies. And I also feel that people had even more influences coming from different verticals and different spectrums, like say social media, like say your YouTube, like say your internet, and and so their influences grew, their knowledge grew. And I think at the time, if we speak about today, I think women and men want to be the person that they are. Whether it's endogenous, whether it's the whole fashion has become very demographic now. It's not become anymore of just one stereotype. And I
Correct.
think people want to, you know, wear fashion the way they want to, as if they know themselves a lot more. They are far more confident. Of course, they admire the actors, they admire the fashion shows, they admire the designers, they admire clothes. But they also somewhere I think today have their own mind.
Right.
So change is inevitable. Change is something that is a part of any form of design. Change has to be a part of all of us. And I think it's changing and it consistently changes. And so the consumer changes. And today's consumer is far more confident, far more knowledgeable, and wants to pick up things that they like and they see. For them, design is very important, quality is very important, and innovation is very important. And I think they want to take all of that and wear it their way, you know. And
Right.
even sometimes they want to replica what they're seeing completely in terms of hair and makeup because they're liking what they're seeing. So I think it depends on all their like. If you manage to show them something that they really like, then they are for it. And then once they take it, they also want to wear it their own way.
That's right. And lately, you've also started a beauty line, with your range of hot couture makeup. And so, I mean, for me, this is really more brand licensing as a business model. And do you see the design industry now becoming more inclined toward licensing and actually going into far more extensions only rather than couture fashion or
Well, I think that is the future completely. And if you see all the international designers who've been designers from much before us, the design fraternity there and the design entire families there are many, many years old. I think that is the future, right? Because I mean, you can't just have clothes. You need to, if you need to expand, in our case, it's jewelry, it's makeup, you're coming up now starting with home. And mind you, these are all things that I'm very passionate about because I actually feel that I started with makeup very late because considering that in the early 90s, I was the first designer to introduce styling and start this whole thing of a look. And where makeup was also important and jewelry was important. I should started these verticals way back. But anyway, it's now there. And I think that for a designer, it's very important to business sphere those creative thoughts those are coming from their heart, you know.
surely?
And because I think anything that's creative has to come from your heart, and then that has to be followed by business, which is the mind. First
Correct.
heart, then mind. For me, it's always like that.
Sure. And I do feel that getting dressed is an integral part of fashion, right? I mean, clothes is one thing, but you really
Well, it's how you see it. It's either you term it as getting dressed or you term it as feeling good. I know so many people in the lockdown where they've also like kind of said, okay, I'm getting dressed tonight and I'm probably having dinner with just my husband, like girls who send me pictures of completely dressed. So I think even sometimes, it's getting dressed is also, it's like a bar, it's like having a shower, right? Where you feel good and you look at things in a little more brighter way, in a more positive way. And that is that dream or that thought of
Yeah.
you feeling good by feeling that you're looking good is what I am there for, because that I feel there's so many times I feel being a part of these wonderful movies or weddings where via your clothes and being a part of that happiness and that celebration is so satisfying, and
Right.
yeah.
Sure. So you just mentioned that the designers in the West have been experimenting with different lines for so long. So which designer in the West has really inspired you? And what particularly now do you think? There is a whole load of change that is happening in the fashion industry today, particularly with remote working, work from home culture. So how is it? What is it that you're drawing from the West? And do you think it's going to be interesting to see in the Indian fashion industry in the coming years?
Well, I think that for anything to last the way the fashion houses internationally have lasted, heart is most important, you know. And then came in the mind of the business. So whether you see Coco Chanel, whether you see even in a brand which doesn't really have a face like Louis Vuitton, but look at the amazing innovation that they come out with. One of my most favorite brands, and even a brand like Chanel, it's years of work, years and years of work. So look at the even Ferragamo. It's a family-oriented business. Look at the amount of soul, the amount of heart it all has, and then it became into businesses. And I think for any business to last last for decade after decade, requires a lot of input, requires a lot of thought, requires a lot of work, and I admire that consistency. Look, it's very easy to make a like a flash in the pan kind of thing, like a flash in the pan, like where you come and make a collection, and now you're on social media and you some film stars wear your clothes, and it's all appreciated. But time and lasting out for decades, it's only talent, hard work, persistence, and I think vision and the business accumulation, sorry, if that's the right word, yeah. The business focus and path, being very clear of your path is something that is very, very important. And I feel those brands have really shown that to us. That if all that is in place, brands could last for even a century or beyond.
Absolutely. There's somebody out here, Pradeep, he's asked a question from you, and he's asking, what is your view on sustainability within the Indian fashion and textile industry? Uh,
Well, I think that
and do you
sustainability
think,
is something.
sorry,
Do you think?
and how can we reduce the loss in the sector, particularly, there's a lot of waste also that comes out of it. So how can we sort of address that?
Well, I think the first fundamental essence that we all have to understand, especially designers and people, that we don't have to produce that much. You know,
Hmm.
I think right now, post lockdown as well, people are not wanting that much. Quality has to definitely surpass quantity. So we've got to keep that a bit controlled, and hence it also starts when you have different verticals of business. It doesn't only have to be about clothes, right? And I think that also when a basic responsibility of every citizen and likewise of every designer, when that is in place, sustainability also is taken a bit of care. You take care of that as well. Now, recycled garments, looking at lesser wastage, putting your lots of interesting works that you must had in your past and are not being used, putting that in together in a new creation. All of these small, points that if you tick mark and you actually do them, you collectively are working towards sustainability.
Yeah.
And I think that being cautious, and being responsible are two very big fundamental points for us, for us in the journey and path of sustainability. And I think technology, responsibility, being sustainable today are key essentials for any brand or any designer for them to last out.
Sure. But I mean, having said that, luxury couture is all about experience, it's about touch and feel. And yet, the kind of times that we're living in, it looks like we need to go digital, we need to think omni channel. And you have got one of the some of the most popular stores as a designer. So, how are you going to think of that changeover, the digital changeover that is today required in luxury fashion?
Well, that is the requirement
Any
today.
answers to it?
I cannot run away from that. That is the requirement today. And also for people to feel safer, digital, and I tell you something, in the last 3 months, I've never had that many digital meetings in the past that I've had now. Because this is the new norm. This is the new normal. And I think for us it is really really important to also come out with products which are probably a little more digital friendly, and are probably lot more accessible. And I don't think people are in a mood to go extra opulent right now. I don't think they want to go larger than life. And I think they're all in a mood of going glamorous. Yes, of course, they want to go glamorous. Some want to go more ethnic. Some want to go more earthy. But I think people are in a mood of wearing something that is more wearable
Hmm.
and more long lasting, probably. And I think that is another conscious effort being made by us, back home, and for the next collection, especially. And that is consistently in my mind that it has to be a very digitally friendly collection as well. And I think that is the way it is for a couple of months from now. And we as a fashion house and as a business are adapting the new normal. And I
Right.
think that is challenging, but in a way, exciting. It's
Hmm.
almost like a new brief. And because I work with that many films, nearly 1,000 films, and every director gave me, like director was different, right? And they gave me a character brief, and I took it from there and said, okay, let's make this out of this character. So I think what nature is telling us today, or what life is telling us today, is a brief from the universe, and there's no other way but to accept it and do something new, and recreate something and reinvent yourself.
So, do you also feel that there's some? Mr. Singh has asked a question here, and he says that the Indian couture is very much becoming occasion oriented. People dress up in high fashion when it's weddings or some other occasions, but they tend to prefer Western wear when it's on other occasions. So, how do you feel as a designer? Your point of view of designing is changing because of that.
But you know what? I actually completely feel that I think a red carpet in India, but it should see a lot more Indian clothes. It should see a lot of interesting, maybe a Banarsi woven sari. It should see a beautiful vintage brocade sari. It should see a lot more Indian garments. I think somewhere being very inspired by the West, we definitely do a lot more Western clothes on the red carpet. And that's one thing that I consistently saying, hey, why don't you wear a sari? Like, I love saris, you know. And I think that in India, couture is a lot of bridal wear because that is the time when families come together to celebrate and are definitely wanting to dress up and get into handmade couture, right? But where the celebrity on the red carpet is concerned, I actually agree with Mr. Singh, and I feel that we definitely should see a lot more Indian clothes on the red carpet. I'm for one. I am for that person.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I think the red carpet experience, the weddings, nothing is gonna change when it comes to Indian. Totally agree with you. I must also say that with the kind of wonderful work that you've done for this industry, and I personally feel that what you've done for Bollywood has probably inspired everybody outside India to think of weddings or think of special occasions in their families as a great lifestyle event, and they want to dress up and they want to feel good about it. So for what you've done in terms of creativity for this country is truly outstanding. And, that is also one of the reasons why we would be seeing you as our cover face of entrepreneur in the month of August 2020. So I would like for you to sort
Thank
of,
you so much.
so I'll just put the picture on over here, which is the cover shoot we've done with
It's a
Manish.
storage.
And the fact that today he's making and he's put the wave, and we're talking about local, vocal for local, and I think you truly gone out and done it. So he's the cover face of our magazine, the Entrepreneur magazine, in August 2020. And he's truly going to reimagine the business of high fashion as we go forward. So thank you, Manish. And while, of course, we do not hearing other cheers, so I'll cheer for you and say that, thank you for adorning our magazine.
And for you, thank you so much.
Also, we would like to present Manish with one of our first award categories of the day, which is the Creative Entrepreneur of the Year Award. Manish has probably done more for Indian fashion than anybody else in terms of bringing really the Bollywood dream, and he is what I would like to call the India's 21st century fashion godfather. So thank you, Manish, for making our country proud with and making our fashion sensibilities so much better they would have been otherwise. So he's also the Creative Entrepreneur of the Year for Entrepreneur Awards 2020.
Thank you so much.
So, I would love for you to tell us this as we present you this award. What all streams are we likely to see you in? You're already there in couture, you're already there in makeup now. What kind of extensions, what kind of areas are you likely to go and extend yourself into?
This morning we were having a meeting, and I think that where our makeup line is concerned, our jewelry line is concerned, and now we are starting with home. I think we need to go a lot more deeper in these verticals and have a lot more for the next 1 year. We definitely see home as our new introduction, and also where jewelry is concerned and where makeup is concerned, we will definitely see a lot more variety, a lot more wide range compared to what there is now. And I think in my clothes, we not a new label, but we're going to come up with a completely new thought process, which is younger, which is more adaptable, wearable, even price point friendlier. And the ethos will be Indian, and it's like an Indo-Western bridge line collection. So it's not breadth, it's not going to be diffusion. It's like a more it's not couture. It's diffusion, so it's more like a bridge collection, which is also going to have separates. So you can pick up things and give your personality that change. It could be a short embroidered, beautifully embroidered jacket, which probably you can wear with your mother's beautiful outfit. So there will be lots of separates that you can pick up from that. So that we will launch somewhere in January 2021, or by February 2021. But right now, home is something that we're looking to launch at least the first drop by Diwali, and I'm going a lot more deeper and a lot more intense with makeup and jewelry.
Sure, and we're absolutely looking forward to it. And trust me, after the lockdown, there's going to be an absolute barrage of people who would be wanting to buy your products.
Well, I hope so, and thank you so much.
Yeah, we're now going to present the other awards, and therefore I'm going to request Kavya to please join us here and announce the awards for other entrepreneurs as well. Okay, as Kavya joins us, Manish, I think somebody is also asking, what is your formula of selling luxury and high price points? What makes consumers spend so much more than the average consumer does?
Come again? Sorry, I didn't get that.
So there is Rumika who's asked us, what is the formula of selling luxury at high price points? What makes your consumer spend so much than the average, much more than an average consumer does?
Well, first, also, it is about the occasion that they're looking for, and a different kind of, consumers. And some consumers want a more opulent or a more intense or a more intricate worked piece. And I think for anything in life, anything, it's not just about a garment. To have a certain price point, first thing that comes first is the absolute quality, from the finish to the fabric chosen if it's a hotel, it's a garment, it's a dish that you want to eat, anything that is at a certain price definitely has to have quality in it. That's very, very important. And working with it, I mean, how much of heart is gone into it. And I think that when people today, with social media and knowledge being there on their phones, yet go for a product, that means somewhere they are people who are coming again and again to their product, and which means that it is satisfying the need of looking good, is giving them the satisfaction of spending that money for a qualitative product, and it's somewhere also satisfying themselves that they have something that they can wear for years. So, for me, in life, something that lasts longer has a lot more value, whether it's a person, whether it's a business, whether it's a product. And I think that assurance is very key for any couture designer or any product that has a price point which is a bit higher.
Sure. Thank you. So Kavya is here. Over to you, Kavya. Please, can you start the awards distribution? I think we're enjoying the first glitches of this. So I think, Manish, we can continue with the chat a little more. So there's another question which has come for you. I think it's not going to stop here. Is Kavya online? No, I don't see her. So there is somebody who's from Myanmar who's joined us, and they're asking what are the criteria and scope for research in the garment and fashion industry, and what are the price points to be considered while garment industry research. Looks like that is a student who's doing his doctorate.
No, so what's the question? Sorry, I didn't get that. Sorry.
They said that how do you go about researching the fashion industry today? This person's joined us from Myanmar. And they said, on what scale of price points they should go out and then start researching about fashion.
Well, I think that what is so that person wants to be a fashion designer, right?
Possibly.
Yeah. So I think that what does your heart say? What do you want to do? Like, for example, I haven't studied fashion. I used to draw and sketch, and I really worked on that to learn painting, to continuously sketching. But I took the Bollywood part because I loved films, right? So I followed my passion, and my journey in design became unique. But at that time, I didn't think so. I just followed my passion of cinema. So I think in any form of design, and if you want to be a designer or you want to get into the business of fashion or design, it's very important to follow your fashion. So do you like couture? Do you like diffusion? Do you like breadth? Do you like menswear? Do you like womenswear? I think those are the questions that you need to ask yourself and find that answer. And that answer will be your first step towards your path.